16th, 2022, Cottage Grove meeting to order.
All right, I have one statement to read real quick, and then we're going to turn it back over to our mayor of the day, Mackenzie. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute 130.02, subsection 1, Councilmember Thiede will be attending remotely at the following location, and it's the Holiday Inn Express Albany, which is 2713 Point North Boulevard, Albany, Georgia, United States 31707. And so that's that. So then the next thing you're going to say?
Please stand for the pledges.
Of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to say, will the clerk please do the roll?
Will the clerk please do the roll?
Councilmember Kambata.
Here.
Councilmember Dennis.
Here.
Councilmember Thiede.
Present.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Mayor for the day, Mayor Delaney.
Here.
Mayor Myron Bailey.
Here. Awesome. So next on our agenda is open forum. This is the opportunity for anybody that likes to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda is welcome to do so at this time. We did have a sign-up sheet out in the entryway, and we do have somebody that did sign up. And so I'd like to, we'll start with that if anybody else wants to, but we'll start with Bonnie Matter at 6649 Inskip Avenue South. And it's noted the topic is various city government.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. We survived our first snowfall. Mayor, Madam Mayor for the day, and council members. I'm here to request a city council public hearing and presentation of the 2023-2027 Capital Improvement Project CIP plan. Excuse me. Planned CIP spend dollars have increased substantially. Ultimately, it is the City of Cottage Grove residents who are going to be on the hook for the repayment of these dollars. It is the responsibility and the duty of staff and city council members while employed by the city or serving as an elected official to inform and keep the residents up to date regarding what is known and how it is going to impact them. In past years, the CIP was presented at a city council meeting. Procedures seem to have slipped during the pandemic. It is difficult, if not impossible, to find searchable documents on the City of Cottage Grove's website. It's even harder to download and search for information. Residents need easy and timely access to meeting agendas, meeting minutes, relevant files at all. It ain't easy to get the necessary information. Secondly, River Oaks Irrigation System Bid Award.
Bonnie? I'm sorry. We're going to be talking about that later on. And so if you want to come up, I've mentioned that to you at the
Can I?
EDA.
All right.
There'll be an opportunity for you to speak on that item because that is on our agenda.
I wasn't aware it was a public hearing.
It's not, but I do let people speak if they have something they want to bring up and it's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yep.
And my third item is, and while we're on the subject of money, residents need to understand how the City of Cottage Grove's $1.2 million email fraud scheme that occurred in the second half of 2021 will be repaid. How much of this loss does city insurance cover? How much will the taxpayer have to eat? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Was there anybody else in the audience that wanted to speak that did not sign up on open forum? All right, seeing none, if you want to hit the gavel. We're going to go ahead and close the open forum, and now we're going to look, you want to say I'm going to look for the adoption of the agenda.
I'm gonna look for the adoption of the agenda.
Wait, motion?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Kambata and a second by Councilmember Olson. All right, now say roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Kambata.
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis.
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede.
Aye.
Councilmember Olson.
Aye.
Mayor Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Bailey?
Aye. All right. So next on our agenda, so the agenda has been adopted, is presentations. And our first presentation, we have two this evening, but our first one is Mayor for the Day. And so what I am looking for right off the bat, first from council, is to be official and make a motion in a second to appoint Mackenzie Delaney as the acting mayor for the day today at November 16th, 2022.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Thiede.
Second.
I'm sorry, Olson, second by Councilmember Dennis. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote again.
Councilmember Kambata?
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede?
Aye.
Councilmember Olson?
Aye.
Mayor Bailey?
Aye. So if the council would join me down in front, we're going to have Mackenzie come on down with us here.
Okay.
All right, so for the public, what is really amazing about this, and it's fun for me, and I know it is for the council and it's for our staff too, is the opportunity to read letters from our youth and students here in Cottage Grove that would, what they want to be and be. Obviously, we have the contest, which is Mayor for a Day, and I know we have our contest here in Cottage Grove, but we also have they have a statewide contest that's there too. And so I believe we had over 30 letters that were sent in to us, and some of them are various schools. And our great mayor for the day, she spent most of the day doing a variety of things, and I'm going to actually hand the mic to her maybe to tell a little bit about some of the things she did today as mayor for the day. But what I can tell you about Mackenzie is she was teaching us Spanish today, so that was kind of cool. She does go to the Nuevas Fronteras Spanish Immersion School. But she lives here in Cottage Grove, and she enjoys the parks. She's pretty excited, like I am, about the upcoming Glacial Valley Park. She plays soccer. I did know that. And her sister also put in a letter for the mayor for the day, who's not very happy that she didn't get picked, but her sister did. So she could take this home to have some fun with it. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Mayor. And if you want to tell everybody, maybe in the audience, a little bit, if you're okay, to tell them what you did today as the mayor.
So I got to see the police station, the fire station, the city council, and I got to ride in a snowplow, and I had to see an engineer, and now I'm here. Oh yeah, and then I did the same Boney.
Fantastic. And I did find out, and Mom was kind of laughing at this one too, that she had dipping dots for the first time ever today at the Ice Arena. Oh my goodness, she was really sugared up. So you did have a bunch of stuff there. Okay. They gave her it wide open on the concession stand, so she had a good time there. So what I want to do is just present you with a little plaque here, okay? So it says, presented to Mackenzie Delaney in appreciation of her service to the city of Cottage Grove as mayor for a day, November 16th, 2022. And so on behalf of myself and all the council staff and the citizens of Cottage Grove, we want to thank you for your day of service here for us as the mayor for the day, and hopefully in the future you can be the official mayor. You have to run for that election, but that's okay. You could be official mayor here in Cottage Grove. A couple of years, there you go. So let's give her a round of applause, please. You want a picture? Yeah, come on up. Come on in.
There you go.
There you go.
That'll be on the senior picture.
All right.
Congratulations.
There you
Mayor.
go.
That's wonderful. Good job.
I'm going to give that to you too. That's yours. Yeah, I don't think you got a chance to meet him. You got here a little bit late. That's Councilmember Dennis. All right. Well, I'll let you head back by Mom, and you have a good evening tonight, and say hi to your sister for me. That's mine. Yep. All right, that was fun. I always love doing this every year with Mayor for a day.
Great young lady.
Yes, very much so. Bright future coming up, that's for sure. All right, next under presentations this evening is the 2022 Cottage Grove Holiday Events presentation. And Molly from our Parks and Rec Department is going to walk us through this. She's been doing a great job putting all this together and working with everybody, and there we go.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Mayor, City Council, Mayor of the Day. We had a great afternoon with Mackenzie at the rink. She for sure has a stomach ache. The concession stand was open. So I have the honor and privilege tonight of presenting kind of a chronological order of events coming up the next several weeks here in Cottage Grove of events, opportunities, different things to do here around town. So the first event coming up is the annual Hail to the Bird race at Hamlet Park. This is held Thanksgiving morning at 9 a.m. It is the 12th anniversary of this great event. It's brought on by a group of residents. They do all the planning, all the registrations, everything. The City of Cottage Grove is a great sponsor, so you'll notice our name on the back of the t-shirts. And they are raising money to support the Friends in Need food shelf. So it's super fun. They come, they raise money, and then they will come out to the fill a fire truck in a few weeks and drop the check off with us, kind of supporting the holiday train through the Friends in Need food shelf. You do need to register online for this great event. The best thing to do is social media is Hail to the Bird. There's a great Facebook page, and it has all the links to the registration. So there's always several thousand people out Thanksgiving morning to do Hail to the Bird 5K race and walk. The next thing is our Holiday Lights Home Tour. I believe as of this evening, our communications department, the communications department this year is leading the charge on the Holiday Lights Home Tour. So the link should be live this evening. Residents are encouraged to submit their addresses if you guys are having anything from small to very large to dramatic light displays at your house. And then the software that we use will create a map that will be posted. Bumping into what? This? The software that we use then creates a map. In years past, we've had almost 100 addresses, so we will create a North Pole and South Pole maps, both starting here at City Hall. Hopefully again this year, Eric and I were talking today, we are hoping again for over 100 houses to be added to that list. If you sign up after the 28th, the map does automatically regenerate a new route. So we encourage people, if you don't get it done Thanksgiving weekend, or maybe you decide to join in late, to add your address at any time, and it will regenerate the map. It's been very popular. We always kind of watch it on our website, and there's thousands of hits on it. People getting that map and going out with their families. It's a great 2-night project, if I can make a family recommendation. The Hometown Holiday Celebration was previously called our annual tree lighting event. It is now bigger, better, faster, stronger. Everything about it has changed. We are super excited. Those of you following along on social media, I think there's almost 2,500 people interested in the event. Santa and Mrs. Claus are still going to be here. We've added live reindeer. There'll be games and activities for kids by local businesses sponsoring those events. I believe we have 3 food trucks coming. There'll be giveaways and more. More information to come on parking. We plan on using the Washington County Government Center and the Hero Center, and maybe some additional parking, and then providing wagon rides into City Hall to accommodate all of the people we are expecting that night. It is Wednesday, November 30th, and the event will take place from 5 to 7 p.m. That weekend, we go right into Fill a Fire Truck, which is kind of like our first kickoff event for the holiday train, the CP Rail holiday train. So starting, I see November 2nd. That's not right. It should say November 21st at 8 a.m. through December 2nd. The virtual silent auction is something that we've been very successful with in raising money for the Friends in Need food shelf. Those items do go live to start bidding. Then that closes Friday, December 2nd. You can come to fill a fire truck on Saturday, December 3rd between 10 a.m. and noon to pick up your winnings, anything you won in the silent auction. I don't know. Some people call it a win. Some people, whew, I got this now. Glad I bet on it. A lot of stuff. So Santa and Mrs. Claus are there, and the goal is to fill up a fire truck with toilet paper, paper towels. We do accept cash donations on site. Again, this year the food shelf is requesting that we do not collect food items. They're very busy. It's easy for them to buy in bulk with cash donations, but they cannot buy paper products in bulk. So that is where we're trying to come in, working with our schools and everything else to collect paper products, deodorant, toothbrushes, shampoo, conditioner, those kinds of toiletries as well. And like I mentioned, you can pick up your silent auction bid items that day as well at Hamlet Park. December 11th is the River Oaks Santa Breakfast, a great annual tradition I know for a lot of families in town. Come get your pictures taken with the famous Cottage Grove Santa. Enjoy a sleigh ride around the golf course. Looks like we're going to have some snow, which will be great. Enjoy a North Pole breakfast menu. Reservations are required, and those can be submitted by phone. So I know give the golf course a call. If there's no answer, leave your reservation on a voicemail because reservations are required for that on December 11th. The very next day, on Monday, the CP holiday train is back after a 3-year pause. So they are coming back to Cottage Grove. They stopped in Hastings the night before. So we have the 5 o'clock stop. I would say the train will arrive about 5. It takes about 15 minutes to kind of set up. The proposed show where the boxcar opens is 5:15 to 5:45. We have lots of things planned that evening. Again, parking at the Park and Ride, and then I would say it stops close to the Youth Service Bureau if you're looking for a point of contact. Anything then from cookies and hot chocolate to cocoa for free, glow sticks provided for all the kids. We do have 6 food trucks this year, including a merchandise tent, a Remax warming tent. So there's lots of activities. The road will close by 3:30 and all events and activities should be set up by 4. So come out for the night, get a good spot for the holiday train. The committee this year, our goal between all of the events, including cash donations collected the night of the train, is $100,000 then to present to the Friends in Need food shelf. The last thing I wanted to mention is the one thing I do is park and rec. Get out and play. Just a reminder to everybody that all these opportunities are open and free. Most of them are free for your family to do all winter. Get outside. The parks are still there. The playgrounds are there. Trails, a lot of trails are plowed in Cottage Grove. We have that great amenity to take advantage of. Warming houses and skating rinks. If all goes as planned, we'll open the Monday after Christmas, December 26th. Don't forget we have groomed cross-country skiing or snowshoe trails at River Oaks. You can follow them on social media to be notified once those trails are groomed. And then new this year, through Recreation, we are repurposing our kayak rental trailer for the winter to rent snowshoes out. As of right now, those will hopefully also open the Monday after Christmas, December 26th. But you need quite a bit of snow to snowshoe, so pick your poison if you want a lot of snow or if you want snowshoes right after Christmas. But that trailer will be set up at Oakwood Park for snowshoeing this winter. So we're retrofitting the back of it now. The kayaks are out and we're getting ready. The snowshoes are in. So it'll be 2 pairs of snowshoes in a compartment, just like the kayaks. And then it's $15 for a 2-hour rental of snowshoes. So if you're kind of looking for something fun to do as a family, for $30 you guys can get outside, and a family of 4 could definitely snowshoe for 2 hours around Oakwood Park. Plenty to see and do around that park. That's all. It's a lot.
I was going to say, there's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on. So yeah, we feel like it's July for how busy we are, but it's fun to see everything start to come together and the snow comes down and like you're in the mood all of a sudden ready to go.
Well, and Molly, thank you for working on a lot of these projects and getting
Yeah.
this stuff, or partnering with others in there too. And I would just also just throw in there, I know our Public Works Department's working on getting all the street light decorations up. They'll be up for Thanksgiving. And I mean, it's amazing. And of course, just so I can say it, that Saturday after Thanksgiving is Shop Local Day. So we, small business, small town, so please make sure that we do try to keep your dollars as much as you can in our local economy, because that helps too. But again, council, any questions for Molly? All these lovely things coming up?
Just thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's
It
awesome
is.
though. Yeah, the hometown holiday celebration should be fun.
It should be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we, just for the public to know, we intentionally didn't do it on a council meeting night, because normally we did it before the council meeting, and then we had to run in here to do a council meeting, where we did it on the 30th, in between this meeting, obviously, and the 1st in December. And the idea is that we can have it longer, and more people can come and enjoy the events going on here at City Hall, so.
And the whole part of the event takes place outside, so come dressed to be outside. The bathrooms will be open in here if you need to come in and warm up, but all the food, all the events, games, activities, reindeer, all of that will all be outside.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you, have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Yes,
Yep,
thank
have a nice
you.
Thanksgiving.
Yes, you guys too.
All right, council, next on our agenda is consent. Are there anything council would like to pull on consent? I didn't see anything on the table. I'm going to look to my camera here. Councilmember Thiede, anything you want to pull on consent?
Move consent.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Olson to move consent.
I'll second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kambata. Sorry, Dave, I caught him first. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Kambata,
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis,
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede,
Aye.
Councilmember Olson,
Aye.
Mayor Bailey.
Aye. So if you are here for anything on tonight's consent calendar, all of those items have been approved. Next on our agenda is 8 is approved disbursement. 8A is to pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dennis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Thiede. Any discussion on the bills? Seeing none, again, I'll roll call vote.
Councilmember Kambata,
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis,
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede,
Aye.
Councilmember Olson,
Aye.
Mayor Bailey.
Aye. Thank you. 9 on our agenda this evening is public hearings. There are none. 10 is bid awards. We do have a bid award, or A, this evening, which is the River Oaks irrigation bid. And our Parks and Rec Director, Zach Doctor, is going to start us on this one.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Mayor,
Zach.
members of the council. Thanks for having me tonight. Tonight, we're asking for your consideration to approve a resolution awarding the River Oaks Golf Course Irrigation Project bid. The objective of the River Oaks Golf Course project is complete replacement of the 1989 irrigation system. As our GM and our superintendent would say, the golf course is a living, breathing facility that needs constant care and attention, and the irrigation system is the lifeline of that golf course. So it needs to be in good repair. It needs to be operating for us to make sure that we're protecting that asset. So the goals are to convert the PVC piping to HD, high-density polyethylene piping, which is a 50-year type pipe. Second goal is to convert to more efficient controlling systems. And then third is to convert to more efficient mechanical systems. The project schedule would be to start the spring/summer of 2023 with replacing the pump station. And then in July, we would start the actual irrigation system replacement. Important to note that we would not close the course. The course would remain open. We might have to close a hole. We would be closing a hole at a time, and then we would adjust fees accordingly. But the course will remain open through the duration of the project. Some of the expected project benefits include improved turf conditions, just by spreading the water evenly, reduced water consumption. The way I explain it right now is with the older system, you're kind of just chucking water. You're doing a lot of chucking water. This system's going to be more integrated or intricate in that it can actually specify where the water needs to go. We can track how much water we're putting on certain areas. We can we'll reduce water consumption by being able to do that and be more specific with where we want the water to go and how much we want to put down. We'll be reducing energy costs just from more efficient pump systems and things of that nature. Reduce labor and material costs. Our folks are in the ground way too often right now. We've been kind of babying this system for 15 years. We've had it in our budgets to replace there. We've been putting money into our budgets, trying to start thinking about irrigation replacement for probably about 15 years now. And so we've been looking at doing this for a long time, but our crew has done an amazing job to keep things going. But every year we're in the ground more and more often, which is a lot of labor and a lot of equipment and a lot of purchasing of materials to keep the system going. So it'll be nice once this system's in, because we don't expect to be in the ground for a long time. Increased operational efficiencies, a 30-year plus irrigation system infrastructure. We expect to work 30 years plus. And then assure River Oaks continues to be a point of pride for the Cottage Grove, and then also the economic benefits that the River Oaks Golf Course and Event Center brings to the community. It is a $2.5 million project, and then I'll have Brenda Malinowski, our finance director, talk more about that.
Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to talk about the funding of the project, the $2.5 million project, and we are proposing to fund it from two different sources. First, $650,000 would come from our Water Enterprise Fund, and specifically our water conservation funds that are in that fund, because this will, by replacing this irrigation, we will have water conservation there. And then the second piece of that is an interfund loan, and we're suggesting that come from our ED Trust Fund. That loan amount would be $1,850,000. The ED Trust Fund right now has a cash balance of about $5.1 million, so there are sufficient funds to loan to the golf course for this project. We are anticipating that we would repay that interfund loan in 2025 when we would issue debt for the project. That would then replenish the ED Trust Fund so that it can be used for other development projects throughout the city. The interfund loan to the golf course will be paid back. The principal and interest payment on that interfund loan will be paid back from the golf course fund. And the golf course did a business plan back in 2021. And based on that plan, there are sufficient revenues in the golf course fund to pay that interfund loan payment. The interfund loan, we did present that to the EDA at their November 8th meeting. They did recommend approval to the City Council of the interfund loan from the ED Trust Fund to the golf course at an interest rate of 2% for 15 years or until bonds are issued for that project. As I stated, there is sufficient revenue to pay for the debt for the interfund loan, or if we replace that with a bond payment in the future from the golf course fund. We did include a memo from Ellers, our municipal advisors, just describing some of the advantages of doing the interfund loan now, but thinking about in the future of replacing that with bonds. But if we did replace those with bonds, we would pay that principal and interest payment for that loan, sorry about that, with revenues from the golf course. And I'm doing the same thing that Molly was. With that, the recommendation is on the screen for you.
Thank you both. First, is there any, council have any questions at this point on the topic? And I'm also looking, Councilmember Thede, if there's anything you wanted to ask since you're remote from a staff perspective?
Yeah, I would have one question. Do we know, Zach, how much we've been spending on repairs approximately per year for the current system?
We do have our superintendent in the audience, but he's shaking his head no. And I think the reason he's shaking his head no, Councilman Thede, is because it changes the system. I mean, it all depends on the weather and how much water you're pumping, what the temperatures are. So I do know that our prices have gone up significantly this past year. But it can kind of ebb and flow from year to year, but it's significant. I don't know if you have an estimate of how many repairs per year?
Oh, 30 plus for sure.
Our superintendent's projecting 30 plus individual repairs per year, if that helps.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Olson?
Thank you. First of all, thank you guys for going back to the drawing board on this. I know it's been a challenging bid environment, so it's really good that we have this in front of us because this is certainly a much-needed upgrade of that original system for this amenity that so many people enjoy. You know, I've had the opportunity to play the course for various tournaments, et cetera, many times, and then this year for the public safety tournament, I had the opportunity to just sit and work a hole for that entire tournament. One of the things that stood out to me that I'd like to ask about is the current system has, for lack of a better phrase, blind spots, where it basically isn't covering certain areas, and you can see that on the course. This system, if I remember correctly, is intended to correct that issue, which will frankly upgrade what's already a pretty well-maintained golf course. Am I accurate in saying that?
You're correct.
And when I do the math, you know, the golf course, you mentioned 1989, which is the year after I graduated from high school. You know, we haven't done anything to this system since that time. It's roughly $65,000 a year that, you know, we would have had to save over the course of the last 33 years to, man, I feel old now. But, you know, the investment that we're making, I think, is in terms of maintenance costs, going to save us a lot of money. But the most exciting part to me, and I don't know if you or Dennis have any insight into this, is the water conservation element. You know, we waste a lot of water, unfortunately, because those pipes break and they break underground. And you don't know it until it becomes a visual issue. So, I mean, you could have a pipe leaking underground for days or weeks, whatever the case might be. And of course, we pay a water bill at River Oaks just like every member of our community pays out of their home. So we're going to see a savings there. But really, more than anything, with the value that is being placed on, you know, water as a natural resource, the ability to save water and actually get a better end result for our golf course with this system is pretty awesome. And I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that these newer systems, certainly not 1989 technology, we're talking 2022 technology, probably meet some pretty strict standards as it relates to water usage. Am I on the right track there?
Councilman Olson, you're right. We call them smart systems, and they're smart for a reason: water conservation, energy conservation, and putting the water where it needs to go, when it needs to go, and nothing more, hopefully.
Okay, perfect, good. Well, again, you know, there's so many people in our community and frankly in the metro area who use River Oaks regularly for tournaments or events, banquets. I'm going to the Park High Hall of Fame banquet Saturday night at River Oaks. It's such a high-value amenity that it's pretty awesome to see that we're finally at that place where we can fix what I think has been a pretty major headache for several years. I mean, God bless Ben for his duct tape and bubble gum that he used forever and ever and ever, but we're even beyond that. I mean, you can't even get parts for this thing anymore. So it's exciting that we're going to be able to improve the amenity beyond where it already sits, which is in pretty great shape. So thank you guys for doing the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to need a little help here from somebody on the staff. I'm probably going to look this way. Excuse me. I want to go a little bit deeper into the issue with the water, because I seem to recall that there's been increasing pressure upon cities from the state of Minnesota, potentially DNR, and also Met Council. So when we find ways that we can limit water usage, that in and of itself is of beneficial consequence. Am I correct on that?
Mayor, members of the council, that's absolutely correct. When the DNR gives us appropriation permits for the amount of water that we can extract from the ground, there's a fee obviously associated with it. And as you will recall, over the last probably 5 years, they continue to ratchet down the amount of water that they are essentially permitting to us on a per capita basis. And so it's really imperative as a city for us to take those types of actions to conserve water across the board in all of our facilities.
Thank you, Jennifer, and I'm glad you use that term imperative because this is the type of business scrutiny that we have to look at when we deal with things, on how we can run, a better business, how we can, get a return on investment. The water is a huge issue. Additionally, from an economic development standpoint, we know the golf course brings tremendous amount of people here to Cottage Grove to spend money. And we benefit directly from that. As I've always said, when we support River Oaks Golf Course, we support ourselves. And that helps to cover costs and provide an incredible amenity that we have here to people and to our business park that we've got. I couldn't even tell you how many times do we have, whether it be 3M or Renewal by Anderson or any of the big businesses down there that will come over and either have, leagues or special events, or they'll rent space for us. So it really serves a tremendous purpose. And we have sunk a lot of money into it over the years to have this here for people to enjoy. So if this system were to go down, and I've heard reports where people have been out there and seen, these areas where water starts coming out of the ground, we can't let that asset turn to dust. We just can't. It's not the right thing to do. So I think the justification is here, as mentioned, the EDA, which Mayor and I are a big part of that, approved it, and I know it's been direction of the council. I know that Planning Commission, I believe, tackled this issue as well. And, so I think when you look at the amalgamation of all of the different entities looking and weighing in, it seems to me this is simply the right thing to do. So that's my take on it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kambata?
I'd kind of echo what Councilmember Dennis has to say. In government, it's really rare that you have an asset that covers its own cost, let alone generates a profit at the end of the year. So the fact that in the golf course's budget, they can cover the cost of the debt service on this, not even factoring the savings in labor and materials and decreased water usage. I think if this were a privatized entity, this would still make sense to do this. So there are very few opportunities in government where we can have an asset that's not only generating a positive impact for the community, but also covering its own expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Kambata. I don't know if Zach, if you want to, I know I was talking, I believe it was yesterday, with the dentist down there at the golf course. And obviously, the basis of the financial plan that you guys have put together has been on your, the business plan that you guys have provided to the council. And you update us every year, obviously, to see how we're doing with it. And I did notice that on the, specifically, we'll just use the current year, so to speak. I know it's not a finalized year, but maybe it's final now, I suppose, because it is still on the ground out there. But it looks like the last few years you've been averaging around 40,000 rounds. And I'm assuming when we say rounds, that's per golfer. Is that correct? And I also thought was interesting as I'm looking at the data as you look back and then forward, the average spend from our golfers, and it's per golfer, went from $32.06 in 2016 to $40.59 in the current year. And I know we're not quite, that's the most updated numbers that we have, which I thought was kind of interesting. And that does not include food or beverages. That is just using whether it's the golf range and all those other things that are out there. That is correct. Okay. I just was curious on that. And when you're looking at the business plan as a total for the repayment, do we incorporate the rest of the clubhouse and such into that plan? I know we're looking at the golf piece of this, right? But is the rest of the financials of the restaurant and the banquet facility also is contributing to paying back the the loan, correct? Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, because I know there's technically, I don't want to say 3 parts, but 2 parts to our golf course down there. There's a golf course piece of it, and then there's the banquet facilities, the restaurants and things that we're doing down there. And so all of it kind of together. And then I might ask Brenda just to share with the public once again. I know that we deal with this because we're kind of unique here in Cottage Grove, but I know Councilmember Olson just kind of made a comment to me here too as a friendly reminder that the EDA Trust Fund is a little unique for Cottage Grove. Can you kind of explain what the trust fund is? Because it's different than a levy or anything that the taxpayer is being charged.
Yep, the EDA, or the ED Trust Fund, that has been funded in the past. It was established, I think, back in 1999, and it was donations from Cogentrix at the time, and that has changed names several times, and so that has been funded with donations, and so there is not a levy or any kind of property taxes that are going into that ED Trust Fund, and so it's been used for economic development in the city, and even at the golf course for some of their projects in the past.
Yeah, and that's the reason I bring that up is because I just want to make sure that the public is aware that the dollars that we're using or proposing to use, should the council approve it this evening, it's not taxpayer dollars per se in this particular case. It's money that was granted to us for economic development, and I think my partner next to me here was commenting. You can all look at what different means of economic development are, obviously redevelopment, things that we work on from an EDA standpoint, but the golf course is an economic engine. It does drive people into our community like many other businesses here do, the ice arena and things like that, our parks. So I just wanted to mention that. So thank you.
One more clarification too, when that donation started, it was, at that time, that business had asked that be used for economic development, not be used for general operations.
Yep.
So that's what it used it for. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Council, at the moment, any other questions from council? Now, I do know we had at least one that wanted to speak, so I did say I'd go ahead and let you come on up if you want to come and speak. And again, we know who you are, but if you could just state your name and address for the record again. Yep.
Just say a couple of things. My name is Bonnie Matter. I live at 6649 Inskip Avenue South. Well, I'll give my spiel and then I've got just a couple of other comments that I want to make. But this bid award should be delayed until after the City Council public hearing and presentation of the CIP. Tonight's plan is that the Economic Development Authority loan for 15 years at 2% will need to be repaid to the Economic Development Authority in 2 years. So that means that loan is going to have to be repaid in 2025. At that time, the loan will be bonded. You'll go out for a bond, a debt, okay? I think that means the City of Cottage Grove residents will pay for the $2.5 million golf course irrigation system, which is fine, that's fine. As long as residents are informed now when the loan is being incurred, because really, they're taking it on now, okay? There are too many questions. Why is money being spent now over which the taxpayer has no say, but will receive a pay-on-receipt notice in 2025 after the work has been completed? Or is the River Oaks Golf Course going to repay that bond in its entirety over the 15-year period at a 2% interest rate? And who will carry the loan at those terms? Inform the residents. The other thing what I want to share is I don't understand. We've known we've needed this done. First of all, I believe this is a community asset, and I believe it's important for this community. Don't get me wrong there. I don't understand why it hasn't been escrowed for, why we haven't been setting money aside. You know this is going to happen. And I hear 15 years, 30 years, okay, that's a concern. Another concern is EDA dollars are for specific things, and it's economic development, and that means commercial and housing, not golf courses, not as far as I can find. Maybe you can address that, I don't know. The other thing that's interesting is the water costs have been hardly anything. They might be using a lot of water, but it's not really costing them anything. So, and I can't read my handwriting on this other stuff, but that's what I wanted to share. I have no gripe about this at all. I think it should happen. I have a concern about how it's happening. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak this evening? Again, it's not a public hearing, but if anybody else wants to, they're welcome to. Okay, Jennifer, do you want to, she asked a couple questions, and I don't know if you and or Corey want to comment on a couple of them at least.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council, we'll start with the CIP. Council, you know that each budget cycle, which, starts in May, as part of that budget, we start talking about capital improvement. And you had a workshop in August to go over the CIP, the debt service that you would incur, and anything in the next 2 years was part of that budget. So that was what you adopted in your preliminary levy in September. The public hearing was held at the Planning Commission in October, according to our plans and policies. And the final adoption, as we've always done in years past, is bringing the CIP together with the budget for a formal adoption, and that'll be on December 7th when you adopt your final levy and budget and also the CIP. So that's how the budget and the CIP come together, and they've always mirrored that way. And the legal requirement for that public hearing was at the Planning Commission and was published. There was a question about escrowing money every year. And I think Councilmember Olson did some math to talk about how much money that would be every year. In public financing, there's a theory of who should pay for it when. So for example, if we would have started to escrow those funds 30 years ago, residents 30 years ago would have paid for the investment today, but the actual benefit is going to be those for the next 30 years. So when we think about public financing, we like to think about who's benefiting from it and who's going to use it. So it would be more appropriate today to levy the debt for the future, so the improvement gets in place, and then the residents get to enjoy that benefit for the next 30 years versus the residents that would have lived here 30 years ago. So there's a theory there that a lot of times we wrestle with in public financing. And I think, to be absolutely clear, the city's levy is not going to pay for that service. Mayor, I know you made it very clear that it's actually the business plan, it's the users, it's the profit that's being generated is paying that mortgage payment for that, or the debt service. It's not going on the general levy, and the general taxpayers are not paying it. It's actually the people that are golfing, that are using the facility, are the ones who are paying for it. It's not the overall residents or businesses within the community. And obviously, there's interest in that, which we usually typically do on any interfund loan to ourselves. We charge ourselves interest as well. So we are no different than a business, and we are treating it as such in this. So I hope I answered your questions. If you have anything else, I'll be happy to entertain them.
Council, any other questions by our staff or Mr. Kambata?
This is directed at Jennifer Levitt again. I know we, as council, sat down and went through with Zach and with Dennis the golf course's budget, as we do every year. Could you just clarify that that is published and it is public?
Mayor, members of the council, yes. Their business plan is public because that's obviously part of the budget, and that business plan feeds into the actual budget numbers, so the very numbers that you've looked at. But we actually go above and beyond. Usually in March, we go down to the golf course. We evaluate the business plan. So we look at the previous year's track records, how they're tracking. We also evaluate what changes we want to make going forward, because we want to make sure that the course is vibrant, we're meeting the latest trends, and generating the revenue and profits. And so that's done annually as well. So typically that's in March, which then those numbers feed into your budget for the summer.
Councilmember Olson?
Jennifer, thank you for commenting on how the financing actually works. versus what the perception might be, because I know that when I was a commissioner on the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Commissioner, and then first became a member of the City Council, there was a steep learning curve in that, you know, I'm a businessman. That's what I do for my professional career. And I had to learn very quickly that business finance and public finance are very different in many respects. And one of the things that I learned that I think is worth noting is that in very simplistic terms, we have a bunch of buckets, and every bucket has its own purpose. And we tend to try to keep each bucket separate, but on occasion, we might pour a little water from one bucket into another bucket, and then over time, as it rains more, the bucket fills back up. With regard to the EDA, however, the EDA is its own entity. It is a government agency, just like the City of Cottage Grove, Washington County, et cetera. And it is entirely possible, and I'm not saying this is gonna happen, I'm not saying that it's been recommended, I'm not saying that it's even been discussed, but it is entirely possible that the 2025 Economic Development Authority personnel, which could be very different than the EDA personnel that are seated at this moment, could say, we feel as though that investment that we made in the golf course meets all the requirements for how we use our ED trust money to drive economic activity in the city. And they could, frankly, forgive the loan if they chose to. They certainly could. I'm not saying they will, but it's something they could do, because they could say, we feel like that was a necessary investment in a major economic driver. And the reason they can do that, theoretically, is because they are their own government entity. So to circle back to something that you said, the benefit is today. It's not 10 years ago, it's not 15 years ago. It's the same reason why when we do road projects, we do special benefit assessments on every household that is impacted by the road project in a positive manner, because a road is an asset, just like a golf course or an ice arena is an asset. This building is an asset. And if that asset is going to increase in value because of an infrastructure change, we have to be able to actually identify what that is through those special benefit appraisals. And certainly we can all agree River Oaks is an incredible asset to this community. All you gotta do is ask anybody who's down there for league golf. Those folks are pretty doggone passionate about the fact that we've got that asset here in town. So again, I wanna thank you for clarifying that, because it is sometimes hard to wrap our heads around. It's not like your household budget. It's not like, in my case, my business budget each month for each one of the stores that I supervise. It's a very different animal entirely, and that's why we have really, really smart people on our staff who specialize in public administration, public finance, and give us the advice that they give us on the way that we should move forward when we have needs like we currently have at River Oaks. This has been talked about for a long time, and a lot of people did a lot of really hard work on it, and we came up with what I think is a brilliant solution for an amenity that, frankly, this community needs. So again, thank you to everyone who put forth that time, energy, and effort. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. When we have things like this come before us, different topics that sometimes people want more transparency, or they come up with their own assertions, that type of thing. What I like to do is I like to reach over and just touch base with our city attorney, Corey Land. We have a fantastic municipal law firm that represents us, that is part of the team by virtue of the fact that we contract with them, but they're a complete outside entity. And so, Corey, I just want to ask you, when you look back on this particular subject, from A to Z, all the processes that we went through, requirements, postings, have we done everything that we were required to do legally by the book?
Your Honor, members of the council, this is one of the most thorough and complete processes that I've seen for bidding a project and for awarding a project and figuring out the complicated financing for it. All Ts have been crossed and Is have been dotted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm going to move that we adopt Resolution 2022-142, awarding River Oaks Irrigation Project to Mid-America Golf and Landscape Incorporated in the amount of $2,146,921.
All right, so I have a motion. A motion by Councilmember Olson, second by Councilmember Thiede. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Kambata?
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede?
Aye.
Councilmember Olson?
Aye.
Mayor Bailey?
Aye. Then we have a second motion, Councilmember Kambata.
I move to adopt Resolution 2022-148, authorizing an interfund loan in the amount of up to $1,850,000 for the golf course fund.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Kambata. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Dennis. Again, any discussion? Seeing none, almost did it. I almost made it through the whole meeting, too. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kambata?
Aye.
Councilmember Dennis?
Aye.
Councilmember Thiede?
Aye.
Councilmember Olson?
Aye.
Mayor Bailey?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, guys down there.
Great work.
Keep up the good work, and thank you for being very thorough on the information. All right, next on our agenda is 11 is the regular agenda, which we don't have anything this evening. Now we're down to council comments or requests, and I will start with Councilmember Kambata.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, I'd like to echo again my appreciation that Bonnie shows up and that we have a strong level of civic engagement. I'd also like to note that on Thanksgiving Day, I will be attending the 5K, and if I can find one in time, I'll be dressed as a turkey. So if anyone wants to come and donate to a good cause and
Or chase you.
and chase me around,
I think
dressed like a
Dave has
turkey.
his turkey suit at home, so just if you have.
He's
him
laughing, I can tell.
If
But
you
you
have him
should
dry
know.
clean it, you can probably borrow it.
I can run a pretty good 5K,
Yeah.
so if you want to
I
chase me,
was gonna
get
say,
some
you might not
exercise.
need a costume, Tony.
Wow.
But in all seriousness, it's for a really good cause. And anyone who's ever donated or spent any time talking to the people down at Friends in Need Food Shelf know that they do incredible things.
Absolutely.
And they can stretch a dollar farther than anyone I know. So any donations are welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilmember Dennis.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Two quick things. First off, we had an election. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank the community for their support. It's an honor and privilege to sit up here and work on behalf of people. I'm very happy that my two colleagues are here as well. And it's just from a real position of gratitude, I think, that we all work and do the job. So it's not always easy, it's not always fun, but we show up and we do it every time to the best of our ability. So that's the first thing. And second, next week is Thanksgiving. So on behalf of myself and my family, wishing everyone a safe, happy time. Unplug, enjoy your time with your family, and enjoy some good turkey or whatever you might have for your meal. That's what I have. Thank you.
Aren't you going to say like Go Vikings or something?
Yeah, go Vikings.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Thiede.
Yeah, so Steve just kind of stole my thunder. I also would like to thank all the residents for your votes and getting out to vote. It's an important thing to do. And it's hard to believe that next week is Thanksgiving already, but happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and be safe and try to get family and friends together and have a good time. So.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. To echo what Councilmember Dennis said, I want to thank all of the candidates who put their names forth on the ballot for this year's election, whether it was for a local office or a state, federal judge, whatever the case might be. Speaking from experience, it takes an awful lot to run a campaign. And, it takes a lot of time, energy, effort Certainly, the families of these candidates are also affected because, you know, a lot of people have to spend a lot of time away from their family when they're seeking elections. So again, thank you to all the candidates who chose to run. I want to personally congratulate Carla Bigham, who ran for county commissioner successfully. I want to congratulate Councilmember Dennis, Councilmember Kambata, and Councilmember Thiede for a successful reelection to the Cottage Grove City Council. I want to thank Mark Weens and Shane Hudella and congratulate them for their victories in the Minnesota House of Representatives, along with Representative Rick Hansen, who will now have a small portion of Cottage Grove added to his district. So we actually have 3 state representatives, where in the past we've had 2. I also want to congratulate Judy Seeberger, who ran for the Minnesota Senate successfully, as well as Senator Matt Klein on his reelection. Just like Rick Hansen, Matt picked up a little bit of Cottage Grove too. So we've got 2 senators representing Cottage Grove now versus 1 in the past. And then finally, I want to congratulate our congressional representative, Angie Craig, on her successful reelection. Pivoting from there, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow in the state of Minnesota is what we call Give to the Max Day. It's a really important event that is held for all of the various nonprofits who serve our citizens across our state. And we have some incredibly deserving nonprofits here locally in Cottage Grove and South Washington County that I hope you'll consider if you're thinking about making Give to the Max donations tomorrow. You can go to Give to the Max MN to get information on all the various nonprofits. And one of the things you'll see there is that many of the nonprofits have angel donors who are kind of hidden behind the scenes, but they offer matching funds. So if you make a donation tomorrow to your favorite charity, it's entirely possible that there may be another donor who is offering to match your funds. And that's a really great way for these nonprofits to ensure that they make their annual budget so they can continue to do the great work that they do. We talked about Friends in Need Food Shelf, that's one of the ones. Second Harvest Heartland, which is sort of the mothership for all of the various food shelves in the state, is a great one. We've got the Youth Service Bureau here in Cottage Grove. Basic Needs is a tremendous nonprofit, and there are so many more. I can't name them all, but I hope you'll consider giving to our local nonprofits tomorrow during Give to the Max Day and take advantage of those matching gifts where they're available. And then I wanted to ask a question of our city engineer, Ryan Burfind, if that's possible. We've talked at this table a couple different times now about some of the challenges that Xcel Energy has had in our city with maintaining power for certain segments of our residents. And I know that when they sent their representative here, we talked a little bit about sort of the cabling and where things are in relation to where other things are, and that distance could be a problem. We had another outage recently, and somebody asked me about whether or not the outages are a result of the community, putting stress on the grid by, too many houses, too many businesses, too much going on in the business park. Can you answer that in any substantial way or talk a little bit about this recent outage?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think Kirsten from Xcel did a good job explaining what happened this summer, how there's really some redundant feed that they need to work on, which they are working on completing this year. So I think that really addresses that question. It wasn't growth related, it was really just an area of town that only had one way to serve it when they had major outages. This most recent one, we actually found out was a squirrel that got into the substation and got fried. So quite literally the breakers all blew and it shut down the entire substation. So 8,500 residents customers without power. So really nothing from growth, nothing Xcel can do. It's just something that happens. They have tall fences, but there's even taller trees around it. So I think it was very short, and within 30 minutes to 45 minutes, power was coming back on and they were able to address it. So definitely not growth related. Unfortunately, just an animal that was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Sure. Yeah, and that happens. I recollect a time when my wife's car wouldn't start, and she opened the hood and got quite a surprise. So, yeah, thank you very much for answering that. I just wanted to, have that on the record, because I know that somebody asked me personally about it, and I'm sure it's something that people talk about. So I wanted to make sure that we either supported that or didn't with some factual data. So thank you. And then for Councilmember Kambata, I'll commit to $20 per K for your 5K. So if you complete it, you get a $100 donation from me. And I hope that maybe some of my colleagues will agree to match that.
Mayor, is that on the record?
That is on the record, it is. All done?
I'm done.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. So I'll just say ditto on the congratulatories. Very excited to have the full team back up here at the council dais going forward. I don't know if this is for Ryan or this might be for Christine. You're gonna kind of chuckle, but we were just talking at the golf course about water conservation as being one of the big things that we're trying to do down there. And I've had two people call me and actually drove by and saw it. These sprinkler systems at Walmart are going off. So when you drive by along East Point Douglas there, you can see the water spraying from the sprinkler head. So I'm assuming they never blew out their lines or whatever, which is kind of concerning. But if we can make, yeah, well, I know, but they should shut them off because that'll be a leak and once the line breaks, because it will break. So if we can make sure somebody reaches out to their manager or whatever and says, hey, you probably need to get somebody out there, that would be great. And then my only other comment for this evening, and I know Bonnie had brought it up during her questions, and I know there's some answers about the CIP. We'll obviously have that conversation, or at least the final verdict, if you will, of the CIP. But the one thing I did want to tell to the public, though, about CIPs, and this is not just for the city of Cottage Grove, this is for the county, because matter of fact, we commented, I think at the last meeting, actually, on what are the CIP projects for the county. And just for the general public, there are things in our CIP that are, we'll call them place markers, and they won't happen unless something happens, like growth. Like if we know that right now we're talking to a big developer that wants to build, a bunch of homes or something like that, we know there's going to be a cost involved to that. And I don't mean a cost specific to the taxpayer, but a specific cost that's going to be attributed to the working with the developer. And that is put in there as a place marker within the CIP. And then we also do things, and that's usually for the first or the 5-year process. For the 2 years, it's pretty solid that we do for the 2 years. And I don't even know if that's state law, but I do know that everybody does it that way. So you can tell me if it's state law, Corey, that the 2 years is a pretty much solid, this is what's going to happen. The price can go up or down depending on inflation and things like that, but the 2 years is kind of more of a solid number. And then once you get out beyond the 2 years and you get out to 5 or plus, which a lot of people do, we do the same. We know that we have something coming down the pipe that we are going to have to deal with, and we start working towards that, but we put a number out there going, okay, we know sometime beyond 5 years from now that we're going to have to build a public works facility, and how much do we estimate that's going to be? And so we need to start planning for that today, but understand it may not be something that's going to be in the next 5-year CIP. So there is opportunities like we do where we put money aside in certain situations, or we create, I'll call it pockets of money or buckets of money that we start saving in order to pay for some of these things. But I just want to mention that, so I know that when you do respond, obviously to Bonnie for the CIP, but for the general public that won't, if they want to see the response to the CIP, they can go online and see it in the council packet. But I just wanted the general public to know that sometimes those numbers can look pretty huge, but that's only if development happens or certain things happen down the road. So with that, that was it for comments. The next item on our agenda is a workshop, which we have 2 this evening, and they're both open to the public. The first workshop is a company called Norhart, which is a multifamily development introduction. It's a company that's looking at bringing a market rate apartment complex to Cottage Grove. Wants to meet with the council to discuss that. And then right after that, we have a water and sewer rate study workshop. And both of those workshops are going to be in our conference room, our training room, excuse me. So we do not have any workshop sessions closed to the public this evening, so we will move to adjournment once we're done in there. But being that this will be the last chance I get to say it, I do also, like the rest of the council, hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and a great kickoff to the holiday season. So with that, council, we'll move to the training room.